This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
What is going on, gang? Welcome to another edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Husson Reem with you, and we are locked in on Labor Day. Bombers practicing today. Ed Tait will join us from Princess Auto Stadium for the latest on the squad. And we'll listen, having Ed on the program this week, we've got to talk about the Bomber-Ryder rivalry and everything that makes this the most special weekend of the regular season in the Canadian Football League. We're also going to welcome in CFL Hall of Famer Stephen Brunt. And Brunt's got a new docu-series working with the Hamilton Tiger Cats called Made in the Hammer, inside the 2025 Tiger Cats, giving fans unprecedented access to the Tabbies and their unique connection to the city. Figured it'd be a perfect time to get Brunt on to talk a little CFL, talk about the unique nature of the Labor Day rivalries, and get his thoughts on Winnipeg-Regina as well, amongst Calgary, Edmonton, and Toronto Hamilton as the annual clashes on the Labor Day weekend. So a real treat to have Stephen Brunt join us. I'm also looking forward to asking him just about, there's so much talk about this Toronto franchise and what can be done to have the Argos support look a little more like what the Ticats get just down the 401 in the Hammer. Lots to talk about with Fienberg today. We've got the U.S. Ryder Cup team named. He was at the Jays game last night. And, of course, we got the NFL season just around the corner. My Chiefs and his Chargers going at it a week Friday in Brazil. For all you fantasy footballers, we'll get the lowdown from someone that knows that team better than anyone on Marion Hampton and how they're looking when you get to draft. So we'll have a fun spot with Fienberg a little later on. Stephen Brunt, Ed Tait as well coming up today. We will get into some interesting Jets, NHL, hockey offseason talk right away when Michael Remis jumps in with us. Just before we do that, though, looking forward to seeing everybody in Regina this weekend. The 1930 crew completely sold out. We are locked and loaded, ready to go on Saturday morning. So thanks to everyone that will be joining us for the trip. And, of course, we'll have plenty on social media throughout the weekend as well for that. I do want to thank our sponsors, of course, Coolbet Canada. Don't forget, Friday morning, 10 a.m., live on Winnipeg Sports Talk YouTube, the first WST Winners NFL episode of the year. Pat, Jake, and I will dive in with a mega episode of our favorite futures bets. We will be touching on player props. We'll be talking about to make or miss the playoffs. We'll be talking about divisional numbers. We'll get to AFC, NFC, Super Bowl picks, league leaders, award winners. One of my favorite undertakings of the year. So that's Friday. And then throughout the year, every Friday morning, feel free to set a timer, 10 a.m., the weekly WST Winners NFL Pick Show with their friends over at Coolbet. Also want to thank Princess Auto, Rolly's Transfer, Manitoba Battery, St. Mattel Dental Center and Canadian Club, Aikens Lake, F Apparel, Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, Little Brown Jug, the Winnipeg Goldeyes, Assiniboia Downs, Ladies' Night tonight at the Downs. We'll tell you about that a little bit later. And, of course, Breezy Bend. Why not question of the day for Not Autocorp and Waverly and McGillivray coming up. And, of course, fan feedback from our friends at fansfirst.ca. Let's get her going. Welcome to everybody in chat. Shout out to all you podcast listeners. And shout out to you, Michael Remis. What's going on?
Hey, a lot of stuff to talk about today. Has with the Bombers practicing, getting ready for Labor Day. Team Canada in Calgary for Olympic orientation, men's and women's. We have Mark Scheifele and Josh Morrissey there. I saw Connor Hellebuck participating in the U.S. Edition as well, alongside Neil Pionk was just named. Kyle Connor as well. So I'm feeling good. I'm a bit rattled. I lost my wallet in the house somewhere. I can't find it. So been searching. It's somewhere. Fell out of my pocket. So I don't know.
How did you realize that you'd lost it in the house? Like, what did you need it for? You needed a credit card? You were ordering
I lost my
toilet
credit
paper online or something?
I lost my credit card too. It's somewhere in the house. I think I was using it. You put it down. I don't know where it is. And yeah, I was about to leave the house yesterday. I got distracted. Realized I left my library card at the library. And then, I don't know, put my wallet down. I went to the car and I didn't have it. And now I don't know where it is. But I did buy this card that goes in your wallet. It's like a credit card, but has a like an iPhone tracker thing. So this is never going to happen again. Rectified the situation.
So you've got the card, you just don't have the wallet. And you need to put that in,
That's right.
And then you're good to go from there on in.
That's right. I got a playoff hockey game tomorrow. I need my ID so I can play in the hockey game. So the time is ticking to find this thing.
I have a feeling it's probably in a pile of dinosaurs, Hot Wheels, or Pokemon somewhere in and around the house.
It's somewhere. It's for sure somewhere. Yeah, exactly.
It's been absconded by one of your young ones. Obviously, we're going to be spending quite a bit of time talking football later on. So let's get to this Olympic orientation camp. I'm actually most interested in the USA one, just from a Jets perspective. Obviously, Connor Hellebuck is, in the mix, probably the clubhouse leader for the starter right now. But, he'll have competition from Jake Ottinger, over the course of the season. But, and I presume this is USA Hockey, the same people that put together the Four Nations team. Like, what if you're Kyle Connor rolling in? You're saying, hey, guys, can you assure me that we're not going to have anything stupid like happen in the championship game where you're sitting me in the press box for an ancient Chris Kreider who can't get out on the ice and an injured Matthew Tkachuk? I'm sure all the sourness of that has sort of left, but I still cannot believe that decision. And I do wonder, what the USA Hockey tall foreheads in the front office might have said to Kyle when he joined for our orientation camp, considering the way he left the last USA event that he was a part of.
Yeah, and Kyle Connor's a guy who always had a tough time when he didn't get named on the juniors.
He'd been screwed over by USA Hockey for literally his entire life.
So I'm sure there's probably some bitterness there, knowing the way that they lost, knowing you got scratched for an injured player who couldn't get on the ice, and scratch for another guy who played 4 minutes. You don't think at the end, in overtime, when everyone's gassed, they couldn't have used Kyle Connor's speed at any point. And Kyle Connor's taking a lot of heat, but where was Jack Hughes in that game? It wasn't like he had a great tournament, and they got a lot of centers there. So.
He was invisible. He got hit early in that game, and he just was an absolute non-factor.
So if I was him, I would probably be pissed off. I think you're happy about the opportunity, but I think there's some stuff going on in the back of your mind saying, what am I getting into here? Are these guys going to value what I bring to the table? Are they going to put me in positions to succeed? Or, if I make a mistake, similar to how other players have made, mistakes, am I going to get put on the fourth line and not play? I think it's got to be frustrating as much as this is a lifetime opportunity, that, hey, I'm playing on Team USA, I'm going to the Olympics. And same thing happened to Blake Wheeler. He was one of the best players in that tournament.
Blake Wheeler in Sochi.
Yeah.
Unconscionable. Was that Torts that was the coach? In Sochi? I can't remember. But Wheeler basically sat on the bench for the first 55 minutes of the game. And then when he went out, they kept double shifting him because he was clearly the best player on the ice. Now, he had a little bit more in the tank because he hadn't been playing, but it was very clear. I'll say this. USA has consistently made some of the most head-scratching decisions in big-time international competitions over the course of the year. The Kyle Connor snub in the gold medal game was just simply the latest of them all. But again, what we're talking about here is, as you mentioned, Remis, a chance of a lifetime for these players to represent their country and be a part of the Olympic Games. So I don't think that he'll be I don't think Kyle Connor is the sort of guy that would say a damn thing. But listen, I think that there's some things that need to be said to him, considering all the way that went down. On the other side of things, Neil Pionk, it'll be really interesting to hear from Pionk when he gets back to Winnipeg to talk about the experience and talk about the honor of at least being in that orientation camp. Because I don't think there was a lot of people that maybe had Pionk in that mix. But I'll tell you what, when you look at the points that he put up last night, when you look at the new EA 26 NHL ratings, and you look at what Team USA had to say, I mean, maybe Neil Pionk's getting more respect outside of Winnipeg than he does here in the city.
Yeah, Neil Pionk stepped up in Game 7. He stepped up in other playoff performances in the past. I'm thinking about when Morrissey got injured, against Vegas. I'm thinking about, hey, he shut down Connor McDavid in the series that nobody saw, the Jets sweep. So he has a history of elevating his game in the playoffs. You look at offensively, 39 points in 69 games. That was the second most of his career. So, yeah, I think Neil Pionk, he's had a couple great years here in Winnipeg, just signed a new contract. Come on down, Neil Pionk. Very exciting to see him part of that.
Yeah, and I know there was a lot of talk on this channel, certainly in our chat when that was announced. The next time that they're doing this, I would expect Dylan Sandberg to be getting a call as well to potentially be in the mix for a spot on the USA blue line. Meanwhile, in the Canadian groups are together, both the men's and the women's. Of course, Mark Scheifele and Josh Morrissey, both representing the Winnipeg Jets, both desperately hoping that they'll be able to represent Canada at the Olympic Games. Josh, of course, ended up missing the championship game due to illness in Boston in the Four Nations, and Mark Scheifele was overlooked for a spot in the team. So I will say this, as we get into the season, I kind of look as Morrissey as a lock, Reem, but Mark Scheifele has so much to play for this year. This is an absolute dream of his. And listen, every one of these guys desperately wants to be able to have the honor of being an Olympian and represent Canada. But we know how Mark Scheifele is wired. It was pretty clear after he was overlooked for the Four Nations last year, from speaking with him, but more so from the guys close to him, Adam Lowry, Josh Morrissey, just how much that meant to him. And I'll tell you what, from a Jets perspective, maybe this is the perfect storm to have just a monster first half of the season as Scheifele does everything he can to both help this hockey team win games, but also firmly plant his name in the mix of Team Canada and a spot on that Olympic Games team.
Yeah, Josh Morrissey, I don't want to say lock, but it seems like he's going to be on the team. They invited everyone back from the Four Nations, and Mark Scheifele, I think it's going to be really tough. I think it's going to be similar as last year. Injuries will play a factor, how you're playing. And he got off, didn't he have a slow start, but then caught fire right after they announced the team. He was excellent. He was in
FU mode basically for 2 months.
And you mentioned the EA ratings. For Pionk, he was just named top 10 center. I saw him on NHL networks, top 10 center. What the problem in that is a lot of the people above him are also Canadian. Yes. And you have players like Nick Suzuki, who wasn't on the team. He's emerging. What changes do they make? Is Brad Marchand going to return to the team? We'll have to see. I think he could certainly be a factor, but we might be waiting. Was one of the last guys in there. So I'd like to see Scheifele. I thought he was certainly deserving last year, but just not quite there. And like Sam Bennett was a guy we thought Mark Scheifele, what's Sam Bennett going to bring? I mean, he was excellent in that gold medal game, and you saw him in the playoffs as well. Consummate, he just got the big contract, so I mean he's a center. And then you have McKinnon, Crosby, McDavid, center. Like it's tough, man.
Let me hit you and everyone with the why not question of the day. Just middle of August, talking a little Olympics in February. We all remember what happened between Canada and the USA. in the Four Nations Cup at the game in Montreal. The Olympic Games, I imagine, will be, I guess it is NHL rules, but I'm not sure whether we'll see the fights or the fisticuffs as much as we had before. But I do think Canada probably wishes they had a couple guys on that roster that weren't there. Why not question of the day for not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray? Is Tom Wilson an Olympian for Canada in February? Yes or no in the chat on Tom Wilson. Where are you at on that, Remis? I mean, listen, coming off another great season, the guy, he's not just a big thug. He's a big, powerful player, can score. Very unique amongst the players that are invited to the orientation camp. And I do think that the memories of what happened against Team USA in particular will be fresh, although this isn't really a grudge match between two countries. This is a full tournament at the Olympic Games. I'm sort of torn on whether Tom Wilson is going to get a spot. I can make an argument to have him, and I can also tell you there's probably some more talented players that would also be really good for Canada to have on the roster.
Yeah, if this was the Four Nations where you could have, we saw the fighting, like you're not going to see that at the Olympics under double IHF rules. I think if he gets hot, he could play, but I think there's just so much talent that...
Is NHL officials...
Yeah.
I mean, do you get kicked out for fighting in the Olympics? Do we know that?
Yeah, I think so. Don't you?
I mean, in other Olympic, I'm not sure with like the agreement that they put together, if that's different and it'll kind of more closely resemble NHL games and allow this. That probably is maybe the key question for a guy like Wilson to be on the team.
Yeah, under double HF rules, like fighting... not allowed. So, like, I think that's what, you'd want to bring his toughness and physicality. And I think, if you lay a big hit, they might call it, like, boarding or something. And I think they're not as lenient as the NHL refs. So, they have so many players. I don't think that they need him. Like, you have Sam Bennett on the team already. I'm not sure if you really need a guy like Tom Wilson.
Well, I mean, anyone would have said if you went back to Montreal and that first couple of minutes.
No, they needed him. Yeah.
Like, where the hell was Tom Wilson at that point?
They needed him.
Let's see what everyone's saying with some fan feedback for fansfirst.ca, your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market, where what you see is what you pay. No added fees. Of course, Jet season around the corner, but right now, Bomber tickets and the CFL is on Fans First. So if you're looking for Labor Day tickets, you're looking for Banjo Bowl tickets, you can always go to fansfirst.ca. The roll call is here. Granny Bomber fan, no for Tom Wilson. Waiters, hell yes for Tom Wilson. Comment, no to Tom Wilson, overrated. Les Thompson, big yes. Shane Payne, HE double hockey sticks, no. John D, no. Johnny Bender, no. Christopher Met, no. But maybe not bad to have help deal with the Kachuk boys. Absolutely. Manny Friend says Wilson is more than a goon. And Grok, apparently Grok says no on Tom Wilson. So we'll leave it at that. Give your thoughts on the upcoming Olympic Games. You can pop in with us on fan feedback. Brought to you by Fans First. By fans, for fans, no fees. Check out the site today over at fansfirst.ca. All right, we'll get to a little bit of Bomber news before Ed Tait joins us from practice. We'll talk Labor Day. Steven Brunt's coming up in a couple minutes. But, Reem, the other thing about the Canadian Olympic orientation camp is that it's the first time for media to get microphones in front of Connor McDavid's face. And I have a feeling most of the questions are not, in fact, about the Olympic Games, but more about his contract situation, which, of course, is one more year on an expiring deal and pending unrestricted free agency.
Yeah, well, like we're dealing here with Kyle Connor entering his final year, Connor McDavid entering his final year of his deal in Edmonton, and this would have league-wide implications. Like, could it be the richest contract that we've seen? Does he want to re-sign at Edmonton, who's been to back-to-back Stanley Cup finals but lost? Or does he feel like Edmonton management is giving him enough help? What, and also the term, with the salary cap going up, is he going to opt for a shorter term deal, like a 4-year contract, or is he just going to try to cash in and take an $8 million and take the guaranteed money? So I think there's some strategy there for his agent on how they're going to approach it. So, and again, is Edmonton going to be their preferred destination? They already signed Draisaitl. They have some big money locked up, and can they build around having so many big contracts? What's his contract? Is it $16 million a year, $18 million AAV? It's going to be something crazy. So a lot of intrigue here.
Is there a clip from McDavid?
I do have a clip. Yeah, they got a chance to ask him at the podium here, talking about the timing of negotiations.
Connor, we'll talk lots of Olympics, but do want to get to the contract situation. Maybe just give us a sense of where things sit right now, how you feel, about what Stan has done, and, if you're optimistic that a deal will get done before the season starts.
Yeah, not even a softball Olympic question for me to start, huh? But that's okay. Right into it. Yeah, no. I said at the end of June, I had every intention just to take my time with it, and I still feel the same way. Take my time and go through everything, and I have every intention to win in Edmonton. That's my only focus. Maybe next to winning a gold medal with Canada, but it is my intention to win there. But yeah, taking my time, going through it with obviously my family, my agent, everybody involved. So we're going through it slowly.
Is it an option for you to go into the season without something done, or would it be your preference not to go into the year without something locked up?
I would say all options are on the table, really. As I said, we're going through it. I don't have a preference either way. I want the group to be as focused and dialed in and ready to roll come day one as possible, and we don't need any distractions. So, but yeah, as I said, taking my time with it, and that's it.
Okay, listen, that last bit that McDavid said was interesting because he said he wants everyone to be as focused as possible and no distractions. Remis, there will be no bigger distraction in the entire National Hockey League than that of the circus around the Edmonton Oilers if Connor McDavid is playing on an expiring contract throughout this year. It'll be the same thing here to a lesser degree with Kyle Connor and probably a few other places in the league. But, McDavid is McDavid, and that will be crazy if he has to deal with it. And we're talking about the McDavid contract situation throughout the year. I don't think it'd be great for the Oilers. Do have to give him credit, though. For a guy that's not usually known for really showing his personality, he sure nailed the first part about it. Little blast at Rashog for hitting him with the heater right out of the gate. And then talking about the importance of getting that done and mentioning that he is devoted to winning in Edmonton.
Yeah, you couldn't hear my microphone because we were muted, but I was laughing so hard here. They're at the Olympic orientation in Calgary doing media. He's like, what, no softball questions about being here, getting ready for the Olympics? Right to business, Ryan
What does
Rashog.
it mean to play for Canada, Connor, before you... And by the way, what's up with your contract?
Yeah, first question about the contract. So I got a kick out of it. And yeah, we saw this with the Blue Jays and Vlad Guerrero. He didn't have a contract going in. And he was on social media going and liking Photoshops of him in a Yankees jersey. I don't think McDavid is gonna do that, but they're gonna be out there.
Can you imagine if McDavid did that, or one of the guys got his phone and just liked a picture of him in a Rangers jersey? People would be flooding the streets in Edmonton in panic and chaos if that did happen. Anyways, hit us up in the chat for your comments on that. We'll look forward to hearing from Morrissey and Scheif when they get back, and certainly Connor Hellebuck, Kyle Connor, and Neil Pionk at the USA orientation camps. But of course, Labor Day weekend's coming up. We got a couple buses heading out to Regina. I see Pat Rathwell in the chat. Everyone's all fired up. Really looking forward to welcoming in CFL Hall of Famer Steven Brunt in just a minute. He's got a really interesting new project with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. We're going to talk Labor Day and CFL in just a minute. Before we bring Steven in, do want to thank Rolly's Transfer for their great support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Folks, If you've got a move planned, lean on Rollies, family owned and operated for over 60 years and the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba. Hit them up on their website at rollies.com, and in the top right corner, click on request an estimate. Put in the promo code WST for a special discount for you all for moving services and moving supplies, and then simply let them know when and where you're moving and what needs to be moved. And the friendly staff at Rollies will turn it around quick with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment and service that their customers expect 24/7, 365. For all your moving needs, lean on Rollies, great sponsor of ours and the most trusted name in the game. Find out more at rollies.com. All smiles over at St. Vital Dental Center. Dr. Terry and the gang ready for the kids getting back to school. Folks, if you're looking for a spot, a trusted dental clinic to take care of you and your family, St. Vital Dental is the spot. They've been taking care of generations of Winnipeggers and now have a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's. State-of-the-art equipment, a wonderful staff, and convenient free parking right behind the building. So for all your dental needs, go to stvitaldental.ca. You can make an appointment and make sure to tell Dr. Terry and the gang that you're a WST, or they'll take real good care of you. Labor Day coming up. I know many of you Bomber fans making the trip out to Regina. Our friends at Canadian Club have the new Winnipeg Blue Bomber limited edition label. So if you do want a taste of the official spirit of the Bombers and Canada's favorite Canadian whiskey, pop by your local Manitoba liquor marts, pick up the special Blue Bomber label, and might I suggest, in time for the weekend, grab one of those CC Club packs too with the ready-to-drink coolers, the CC and ginger ale, the citrus smash, the half and half. Been a big hit all summer long and will go perfect with your Labor Day weekend. All right, really looking forward to this. I was lucky enough to have our next guest on a number of times back in the old days, rolling with Gary Lawless. And it is a pleasure to welcome in legendary Canadian sports journalist Steven Brunt to the program ahead of the biggest weekend of the year in the Canadian Football League. Steven, thanks so much for doing this. How are you?
Hey, I'm great, and happy to be back with you. This gonna be a lot of fun.
Well, this weekend is going to be a heck of a lot of fun, and we're all fired up for the annual pilgrimage to Regina for Labor Day. And obviously, it's a big deal in Southern Ontario, the historic game between the Argos and the Ticats. And we'll get to Labor Day in a minute, but, as we've seen teams engage in new ways of exposing the teams behind the scenes, new ways of content, really interested about the new series you've got with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Tell us a little bit about what you've been working on with the Tabbies.
Yeah, it's called Maiden Hammer, and it's I've been working with the Ticats content people. They've got a really good, an excellent content team. It's a 4-part documentary series behind the scenes, kind of the story of the season divided into 4 parts. Obviously, they have all kinds of access, dressing room, sidelines, a lot of kind of unfiltered stuff, which is amazing, and we're kind of trying to. And player interviews and find the kind of the storylines, over the course of a CFL season, starting in training camp and leading us right into the fall. So, I'm a Hamilton guy. I've been going to games since I was, probably before I remember, but definitely since I was 4 years old. And for me to be able to kind of work with my hometown team and to try and, tell the story of this Ticat season, which has already turned out to be. There's a lot of stuff that's happened already in Hamilton. Some of it is good, and some less good, and some kind of sad things have happened with the Ticats obviously this year. But very a lot of human stuff, and I think that's to me that's the appeal of it. So you see the guys in the uniforms, they come out on the field, you cheer the colors, but the people behind the masks, who the guys who and the people behind the scenes, and giving people a sense of. I say the human beings behind the football team.
Steve, I'm really interested just from a media perspective, someone with your incredible experience that's, worked for the big companies, you've written books, you've done newspapers. How different is this undertaking working with the sort of access that, frankly, teams usually try to keep guys like you away from?
Well, it's true. There's all kinds of. I keep seeing things in the footage we've been shot and go, boy, I wish I'd known that kind of stuff when I was writing a column. Would have made it a hell of a lot easier. But the other thing is, it's fun for me to work look, as you know, like no cheering in the press box, right? We're all neutral when we sit in the press box. You don't have any allegiances. You just cheer for the outcome, cheer for a good story. But it's kind of fun for me to be able to say, I'm working with the Ticats, and they were always my team. And it's fun to have a rooting interest in something because we weren't supposed to have rooting interests. I know, look, we all do, and we all did, and quietly, of course. Otherwise, if you're not a sports fan, why would you be a sports journalist? But that's been really, really neat for me to be able to say, look, I'm part of this Ticat organization right now, working with the Ticats to tell a Ticat story. That and I would love being able to say that.
I always enjoy my time in Hamilton. It gives me some Winnipeg vibes. I mean, it is a gritty city. I mean, it is not the bright lights of Toronto. It is certainly far more working class. And I think that connects here. And we had such a fun time out there for the Grey Cup, and the Bombers and Ticats have had some big games. I know a big part of this series is the connection from this football team to the city. It couldn't be bigger right now here in Winnipeg, but if you could speak to that, and maybe, the game that really, to me, showed Hamilton showing out this year was that Thursday night game that they sold out, welcoming SGA back with the NBA trophy. That seemed like a really important day for Hamilton, and in a lot of ways, it showed how important that CFL franchise is to that city, that a guy like Shea comes back, and that is the venue for them to welcome him back as a champion, and one of the greatest Canadian athletic achievements we've ever seen.
Yeah, that was a great community moment, right? And you're right that the fact that the focal point of it was a Ticat game was, it was appropriate, right? Because like Hamilton, if you're Southern Ontario now, that part of Southern Ontario now, it's like one big city. Like, they that's what they refer to as the Greater Toronto area, right? Like, and if you drive from Hamilton to Toronto now, you never leave the city. It's just, there's Burlington and Oakville and all these other places, Mississauga, but it's not, that sense of separation physically doesn't exist. And, a lot of kind of people have moved to Hamilton for, real estate reasons, right? Real estate refugees from Toronto. There's a lot of people who commute. There's a lot of people who are mobile workers now. It's not, the Hamilton of my childhood was steel, right? It was a factory town. It was, Procter and Gamble and, Studebaker and, all of those kind of companies down, and it's gritty, and there were smokestacks, and there still are smokestacks. And it was not the shiny towers of Toronto. And that's how we, kind of defined ourselves. It was, this is who we are. This is where we're from. The stadium is stuck right in the middle of a working class neighborhood in East Hamilton. The old stadium was there. The new stadium is there. You park on people's lawns, and you can see the factories from the stands. And that was, the Ticats were us. And it's still that way. It's a different city now, but people in Hamilton, look, there's no NHL team in Hamilton. There has been junior hockey, and there've been other things, but it's been Ticats, right? If you're a Hamilton person and you want to kind of cheer for your community and yourself and your neighbors and all that stuff that kind of goes with being a sports fan, the kind of organic stuff, it's been the Ticats, through thick or thin, and there's been a lot of thin, they've only won 3 Grey Cups in the last God knows how many years. So you a lot of tough times, not a lot of times of having a parade. But man, I'll tell you that the pride in that team, and kind of the idea of that team being kind of tougher and grittier, and we may not be the slick guys from Toronto, but we'll beat them. That's still really important in Hamilton.
Just hearing you talk about where the Ticats are right now reminds me of where the Bombers were, sort of in and around the start of the Mike O'Shea era, where things weren't going well. I mean, the first couple seasons, it took a while for things to get going under Mike. And, right now it's the Ticats that have the longest Grey Cup drought. Winnipeg was sitting on that for a long, long time, nearly 30 years before the team won in 2019. But sometimes, Steven, and I'm sure you find this in dealing with the fans, sometimes the commitment of people to a team throughout a season, through a run where, you have some ups, you have some downs, you never quite get to that ultimate goal. it can often forge an even greater relationship. And I'll tell you what, I can tell you right here in Winnipeg, when it does happen for Hamilton, it'll be so special thinking what that 2019 championship meant to this city that had been since 1990, since we'd had a parade or anything to really cheer about.
Yeah, I hope we get to see it. It's been since 1999 with Hamilton. But I was thinking about this the other day. Like the Toronto Argonauts, Hamilton's great rivals, although, Toronto doesn't recognize that maybe necessarily anymore. But, from our point of view, they went through a stretch where they didn't win a Grey Cup from 1952 to 1983, and lost, in almost comical fashion. The Leon McQuay fumble, all those things. And the support for the Toronto Argonauts was never higher than it was through the 70s into the early 80s. In the midst of that incredible drought in a 9-team league, it's hard to do that. So there is something to that. And then they won in '83, and a bunch of things happened. Like the Blue Jays came on, but it was like the bubble kind of burst. But I do think the kind of hanging with a team through tough times does forge something. Now, these last few years until this season, the Ticats have got off to terrible starts and were kind of out of it before they ever got into it. But I think, give people some encouragement, give them some hope. They're sitting in first place right now. Don't look like there are a lot of good teams in the East. Certainly not a lot of healthy teams in the East. I remember vividly the Grey Cup parade in '99 after they won. The Ron Lancaster coach team, Danny Mack, Darren Flutie. I remember the '86 team. I go back. I remember the '72 team. And those were all kind of big signature moments in Hamilton. But I'd be really intrigued to see what that looks like and sounds like and feels like in the 21st century, because we haven't done it.
Having this conversation heading into Labor Day, I'm really interested in just your perspective on the league and these big Labor Day rivalries. But fill us in on on episode 1. I think people, I got to give a big credit to Sarah Oleski and the job that her and the content team with the Jets have done. I mean, we've just loved the unique content that we haven't been able to see before, teaming up with someone like you. And there's going to be multiple parts to this. Number 1 is there, and it has been a nice start. The first couple losses, and then Bo Levi sort of taken over from where he was last year. Imagine this first episode has a lot of some good things on the field, but also some building belief within that Ticat room and the city.
Yeah, that's kind of the theme of it, I think. It starts with training camp. Obviously, there's some new arrivals with the team, as there are in CFL all the time. But Kenny Lawler and they brought in a lot of talent this year to start the season. And then they went out to Calgary and got beat by a team that we now know is really good in Calgary. And lost to Sask at home, and everybody figured Sask was going to be really good. And it kind of felt, here's the same old story, right? They're gonna bury themselves in the first month of the season. But then that team started to kind of find itself, and Bo Levi looks like this guy who 3 years ago people thought he was done, and he's playing as well now as he's ever played in his career, I think. And you could kind of sense, if you watch the behind the scenes stuff, especially, you can sense the self-belief starting to creep in there, where this team is starting to, like training camp so short, preseason so short, but you can sense these guys starting to kind of think they can do it. And now the subtext is also, and you guys know well, what the Ted Govea story. So that also happens in the middle of this, where the team finds out the situation, Ted's situation with his cancer, and there's an amazing scene in this first episode where Scott Milanovic, after the first win, gives Ted Govea the game ball, and it's I'll tell you, you have to have a heart of stone not to feel something seeing that.
Yeah, it's been, obviously people here in Winnipeg that knew Ted and his contributions to the Blue Bombers have been feeling it for him. But, we've seen Buck Pierce, on the sidelines in BC wearing the Team Ted. And it kind of speaks to the CFL being a big family, and that they really do support their own, that, so many people around the league pulling for a guy whose job is to beat them on the football field.
Yeah, it really does, right? Like it's a small league, a big family, but a small league, and everybody knows everybody. And Ted is, you see how people feel about Ted around the league. It's been, that's been wonderful to see, and I, but there is that kind of that undercurrent that's going to be part of this Ticat season, no matter which way it goes.
Folks, get over tiecats.ca, Made in the Hammer, episode 1, a new chapter in Steeltown for the docu-series is up, and we'll look forward to seeing the rest of it. You mentioned Bo. Like, I'm with you. I mean, I remember seeing him a couple Grey Cups ago, and he's on the TSN panel. He's looking good. He's sounding good. I would have said there was far more likelihood that he would be on the panel on Friday Night Football than being the star of the show at this point. But, it seemed like, they had that terrible start. The numbers were there, but they didn't win. They didn't make the playoffs. It was tough. Probably should have, legitimately been right there for MOP. Tough to do that when the team doesn't do well. Man, they have turned it around. And now, despite the fact that the West certainly seems to be the stronger division, have a really, really good hold on the East right now. But just what have you learned and seen from Levi Mitchell at this point in his career? In a new city that seems to be really embracing him and what he's doing on the football field?
Well, I think the first thing is that physically he can still do it, right? And I think that was a question, a couple of years back, whether he still had. I think there were questions. He just didn't look like the same guy throwing the football, but he sure does now. And he's mobile enough in the pocket, and he can step up. And with the experience he has, and with the receiving core they've given him, and a pretty good offensive line, I think he's thriving. But so it's the combination of him being, really looking sharp physically, having the knowledge that he has from all those years in the game, and them surrounding with a lot of talent. So that has been, he was great last year, as you say, with a team that was not successful. But I think what you're seeing this year is him on a team that, look, there've been a couple of bumps already, and it's not like they haven't lost a couple of games, but I think this game coming up on Labor Day in Hamilton against the Argos, who look sort of like they have some life now. Nick Arbuckle looked really good in the last game.
Speaking of great stories, Nick Arbuckle.
Yeah, I didn't see that one coming. I thought we'd all be talking about Chad Kelly at this time of year, but that game, historically was always, it didn't really matter how the season went as long as you beat the Argos on Labor Day.
Yeah,
I don't, it's not quite that this year, because I think people in Hamilton, right, they should finish first in the East this year. With the injuries that Montreal and Ottawa have, and that, that Argo team's not what it was. It's been stripped of a lot of talent. They should finish first. They should be one win away from the Grey Cup. So I think Labor Day this year has a whole other significance, and it's, it is kind of like a local holiday. It's the game that if you go to one game a year in Hamilton, that's the game you go to.
We've got the same feeling here in Winnipeg with this incredible rivalry between the Bombers and the Riders, who sort of become it was Saskatchewan for a while. I would argue that Winnipeg is now the standard, both, on the field and certainly in the stands with 10 straight sellouts. Frankly, as someone that grew up here, it's amazing to see. And we sort of feel like we're in this golden age of Blue Bomber football right now. But the league has its challenges, and no better place to look than Southern Ontario, where you do see the spirit of Hamilton coming out and getting behind that team. And despite one of the great coaches in the CFL, a team that's consistently competitive this season notwithstanding, 2 of the last 3 Grey Cups, the Argos just can't seem to really get traction. Is it just the sign of the times, Steven? You've been around this league for a long time. Is there anything that you can look at that would significantly change the Argos' place, in the minds of Toronto and GTA sports fans?
Man, that's the $1 million question, right? And it's been a question for a long time. We've been talking about this for a long, and they've tried a lot of stuff, and you've had, as you alluded to, they've had great on-field success the last few years, right? God, looking at it from a Hamilton perspective, we would have taken some of that, right? That would have been great. In a city the size of Hamilton, you can, and with nothing else, sports-wise at this level, people will rally around, right? And they'll rally around because it's history. They'll rally around because of family. They'll rally around because it's the thing to do. It's a lot harder to do that in Toronto with the other, with the Jays where they are right now, especially, kind of soaking up all of the attention, and with the Leafs and with the Raptors and with the soccer team, the Argos. I think a lot of people thought when they moved over to BMO Field, to the smaller field, that would help get them out of the dome. I think that opportunity kind of was lost in a lot of ways. I don't think they maxed out on what they could have done at that moment. It is a way better place to watch a football game than it was, but yeah, it's they don't get any attention in the media there. They're the fourth or fifth team in terms of media attention. And look, they have hardcore fans, and some of them will come down to Hamilton at their own risk on Labor Day. And as much as I'm a Hamilton guy, I got a lot of time for those Argo people because they stuck with it and they care and they're really passionate, just like they were in the olden days. It's just that there aren't enough of them.
The rivalry between those teams. I mean, if there's a time where you can actually really see that and get the spirit of the fact that there are a ton of CFL fans. Like a lot of people say the CFL is not working there. I mean, you look at the TV ratings would tell you different. There's just unique challenges in a city of that size to get more asses and seats to watch the games. But the Hardos are there. What is Labor Day like? We know what it's like, the Banjo Bowl here, what Labor Day is like in Regina. Tell us to those of us out west, what Labor Day in the Hammer is like when these two old rivals get together.
Well, it's kind of it feels like kind of a it's like a holiday, like it's like a kind of a mark on the calendar. Like as it's the time of year, it's a transitional time of year, Labor Day, right? You go back to school, you go back to work, summer's over. Maybe not. It's still going to feel like summer, but summer's over. And I think we all kind of feel that pivot. You can be out of school for a long time, like me, and there's still something that kind of clicks in around Labor Day. We go, it's time for a change. Things are, we're gonna move on here. But the last thing, before he went back to school the next day was that Labor Day football game, and the whole city kind of converges in the East End. It hasn't always historically been the Argos, but for a long time now it has been. It wasn't way back in the day necessarily, but now it's become this. Yeah, it's a ritual, right? And you don't have to be a hardcore football fan. You don't have to be somebody like me who grew up with the team, but it's like a kind of a local ritual to go to that game, to tailgate a bit, to park in the neighborhood and walk to the game and feel that energy coming out of that stadium. Because you look, good seasons or bad, it doesn't matter, and there were a lot of years. It's a cliche, but if they beat the Argos on Labor Day and they were even in the middle of a crappy season, you still kind of felt okay. It was like a sub championship.
Yes.
So, and I remember, man, and I still it still kind of kicks in for me. I'm not sure there's anything I've cared about more in sport than being a Hamilton guy and beating Toronto. Because it was like they represented everything we were not, and we had it shoved down our throats. And we're not pretty, but we're tough, and we're gonna beat you that one day of the year. And you can walk back down the QEW with your tail between your legs. Like that really mattered. It's what it's like. It's like in soccer. If you're in Liverpool, right? You're Liverpool or you're Everton. You're one or the other. You're red or you're blue, and that is in the bones. That's not just kind of a passing rooting interest where you say, boy, I want to cheer for I want to cheer for the Dallas Cowboys or something. You live it. And that's the beauty of it, boy, when something that's real. And I think it's still there. You know what?
And it's amazing what you're doing with the Ticats. I would love to see the league itself really dive in and maybe working with TSN or whoever, make a bit of investment in doing something like this about Labor Day. Because I'm a firm believer that what is going to bring people out to these games is being part of an event. And that's what's happened here in Winnipeg, Steven. I mean, I got to tell you, the north end of the stadium this year, I've talked about it on the show, has been like a nightclub. I mean, we're talking 4,000 and 5,000 people, like 18 to 25 that are there. They're kind of paying attention to the game. When the big things happen, they're cheering, but they're meeting other people. They're partying. They're having a good time. And it is like, there's a lot of people. Who are we playing? What's going on? It's a Bomber game. It's an event. And the job that they've done has been so good. But to me, on a singular weekend, it is this weekend. And I think about what happened. Maybe I'll get you to just your thoughts on the Bomber-Rider rivalry, the way it's gone. It's a little different than Toronto and Hamilton in that you don't have the really big and the really small. They're a little more even, but there's a lot of distance between. And as you travel from Winnipeg to Regina, you see people staking their claims. There's Ryder fans in Manitoba. There's Bomber fans in Saskatchewan. You get to the border, and there's signs on both sides letting you know what's happening. And then you get to Regina for the weekend, And it's turning more into that, for the Banjo Bowl, albeit it's not a long weekend, which is less good for travel, but they moved it to Saturday at least so people could come in, could make the trip back. And it is truly, it's kind of like a mini Grey Cup in that for 2 days, people are flooring it pretty good, having a lot of fun, both in blue and in green. And then everyone gets together, fills that stadium. They're going to have over 34,000 at Mosaic, the biggest crowd ever. They're doing standing room. So, I mean, to me, that's what the CFL is all about. And I think there's a lot of people, if they had not been exposed to the Canadian Football League and were a part of the Labor Day game in Hamilton or Regina or even Alberta, with where things are hopefully getting back to, that's how you really get people interested in being a part of being a CFL fan.
I couldn't agree more. Like the experience part of it. And, people talk about, what it's like to go to a big American college game, right? Or go to see an NFL game in Green Bay. But, if like right now that like the Winnipeg Sask rivalry is the best, and again, because it's a two-way rivalry, right? And, Hamilton, Toronto is a one-way rivalry now. And it's still passionate in Hamilton. Toronto's all the things we talked about. And, and the Alberta thing, because Edmonton's bad right now, or, maybe they're going to be a little less bad. And, I don't know, Calgary seems a little jaded about, and they need a new stadium desperately in Calgary. But boy, those two stadiums, in Winnipeg and Regina, seeing them full, those beautiful new stadiums, I think if you could drop someone in who never been to a CFL game and say, okay, here's the story, here's these two towns, here's the history. I think you'd be swept away by it, just again, like you'd be swept away by going to a Yankees Red Sox game, right? It's got all of the elements, right? It's because it's organic, it's real, it's from a real place, and there's a real history, and it's a load of fun. And I think again, I think that's the healthiest, and the healthiest one in the league right now. And I think you're right about telling those stories though, because. Think of all the ways they've tried to market the CFL over time, the kind of, we're not American, and, various and sundry ways to kind of wave the flag, which is fine. I'm all for waving our flag. But I think kind of celebrating what it is rather than trying to make it into something, kind of market it into something else is the way to go. It's, what it is pretty cool.
Well, it is. And I think it's a matter of a lot of people getting exposed to it. I mean, listen, 2025 is different than 2015, a hell of a lot different than 1995. I mean, there's still a lot of people that barely, haven't changed their routines from being at home through COVID. And, if you get to the point where you're just in sort of a routine where you're home a lot, most of your things are digital, I mean, you need to have that kick in the ass at some point to get outside and do something fun. And listen, the fun part of attending these big games is what brings people back. Hell, we went to Regina for 10 straight years, got our asses kicked for 9 of those, and yet people were all fired up on Saturday morning to go do it again. And that to me is the biggest sales pitch of the people, what these games are all about at their best. And I really hope. Do you ever think will they start doing Ottawa, Montreal? It's a bit of a head scratcher why that. We see how great Labor Day weekend is in the Canadian Football League to have two teams that are kind of natural geographic rivals on buys.
Yeah, it is. And that one, look, I'm an older guy, so I remember, when Ottawa, Montreal was pretty good. When Russ Jackson or somebody was playing when Ottawa, the old Ottawa team, and and the Alouettes, and there was something there, and they that ought to happen. I'm not sure now, whether you could make that work, and but. Yeah, no, it makes loads of sense, and it doesn't make much sense to have them sitting on the sidelines watching this. But the other thing you said, and I just want to get back to it, that idea of the kind of party atmosphere at the stadium in Winnipeg, that's sports in 2025.
100%.
You've seen what the Blue Jays have done in the Rogers Center. That's transformed it, right? There's people there who are there for a good time, and they're baseball fans to a point, but it's the experience of being there, and you can experience it in all kinds of different ways. And I'll tell you, in Hamilton on Labor Day, you'll have, a whole bunch of people there who are not like me, are not lifers, not hardcore forever. They may not know what's going on with the Ticats particularly, but there are all kinds of parts of that stadium where it doesn't matter, where, you're there you're there to be part of something, to be part of the crowd. And I maybe that's like, as you say, when we're all sitting behind screens all day, being part of something, sharing something with people in the same space at the same time, caring about something in the same space at the same time. It doesn't happen all that often anymore, right? People don't go to movies the way they went to. I guess they still go to concerts, but there's a power in that, right? To be in a crowd, a real live crowd where people are pumped up and having fun. And, you don't have to know every nuance of the game to enjoy it.
No, and just how different things are. It got me thinking, when I was, walking through that North End and seeing all these young people together. I mean, if you're 20 years old right now, you were 15 years old in 2020. Your entire high school experience was probably half the time doing things at home. I mean, it's hard for us to even imagine what it would be like to be a teenager at that time. And we're seeing right now, I think, a ton of kids and young people that have really literally never been in scenes or social settings like this. And they are having so much fun, and it is just driving it forward, sellout after sellout right now. And, as I say, there's so many things that have come into it. The team's been really good, and I think that's helped the notoriety of the team. But, what the team has done with the fan experience and really connecting with the people that were there first, the season ticket holders, with the loyalty programs, it's a good case study, I would say, in taking what was, something that was important to this city, but sort of a joke at times where the team was so bad. You still had a lot of people behind it, and now it's built up to something that you hope can be replicated around the league. And there'll be no better show in the Canadian Football League than what's happening in Regina on Sunday and out in the Hammer on Monday. Again, folks, Made in the Hammer. It's the episode 1, a new chapter in Steeltown. Go to ticats.ca. Remis has it in the chat. Stephen, absolute pleasure having you on the program. Enjoy the games on the weekend, and all the best on Labor Day and with the project moving forward. Looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, thanks a bunch. Really enjoyed it, and I hope people like it. I'm really proud of it.
Thanks so much, Stephen. There's Steven Brunt, CFL Media Hall of Famer. I can't wait to see this in Stephen, with the experience that he has had in, one of the greats of, media in Canada in our lifetimes. To move away from writing articles and get this sort of access, this will be neat. So as I say, just if you're a CFL fan, I'd certainly recommend checking that out, and I'll be doing that a little bit later on as well. Eddie Tait's going to join us in a few minutes. We'll focus in on the Bomber Ryder part of the Labor Day tradition in the Canadian Football League. And, of course, the following weekend, it is Banjo Bowl time at Princess Auto Stadium. Princess Auto Stadium, the home of your Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And, of course, Princess Auto, proud sponsors of WST as well. Princess Auto, folks, is where you'll find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new waiting for you at Princess Auto. So pop by and see them Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, or in Brandon as well if you're out in Westman. And, of course, you can always shop online 24/7, 365 over at princessauto.com. Still trying to make the most of these final few weeks and days of summer. We got a big, long weekend one more time, and if you're not heading out to Regina, you're probably heading out to the lake, maybe getting back on the water one more time, getting the ATVs out, maybe just getting your sled ready for whenever that snow falls. Listen, everything you need batteries for, Manitoba Battery has you covered. You'll be able to shop local and save big money over the big box stores. Like Donnie says, wake up, Winnipeg, and stop paying more for batteries and getting subpar service at the big box stores when Manitoba Battery's waiting for you. Pop by and see them on Logan Avenue, their new spot on Dovercourt Drive in the south end of the city. You can save up to $60 a battery. And not to mention the best customer service, because Manitoba Battery will deliver those batteries to you for free if you can't make it down anywhere inside the perimeter, free with any purchase over $60. It's just that easy. So get the best price in town, shop local, Manitoba Battery. Order online today at manitobabattery.com. Our friends at F Apparel are ready for fall. Are you guys? If you've got to up your menswear game, head on down to F at 190 Smith Street. The best in men's custom suits starting at $400, along with chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, both tucked and untucked styles, and the biggest and best selection of menswear accessories around as well. Hey, if you're getting married or in a wedding party, also definitely talk to the guys at F about a special discount for the wedding party when you get your suits for the big day at F Apparel. Again, 190 Smith Street downtown. Check them out online. That's EPHapparel.com. Make an appointment and pop in for a fitting. And hey, shout out to our friends at Aikens Lake. We're finishing up a great, albeit abbreviated season. We did show Kevin Cheveldayoff's master angler walleye he pulled out on the weekend. If you're thinking about a world-class fly-in fishing opportunity where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg, Aikens Lake is the spot. As great as the world-class fishing is and all the big fish coming in, the hospitality of the Aikens fam and the Terrens even better. They do have some limited availability for the rest of the season. So if you want to get out before the middle of September, let them know you heard us talking about it on WST for a 10% discount on any available booking for the remainder of the year. And listen, they're already booking well into 2026. So you can find out more information and make that happen over at aikenslake.com. All right, expecting Eddie Tait coming up in a few minutes. Want to get the latest on the Winnipeg Blue Bomber practice and the preparations for the upcoming Labor Day Classic. But let's hear from Mike O'Shea. You know, Bombing was on with us yesterday, if you missed it, and said that they were pumping in the loudest crowd noise that he had ever heard before at a practice. They know what's coming on Sunday. Here's Mike O'Shea speaking a little earlier, talking about dealing with that Saskatchewan crowd on the weekend.
Yeah, you turn down your microphones on your headsets because it's picking up on your mouthpiece. You plug your other ear if you're not wearing a double set of cans. You consider going to like a 2 headphone system, you know. It's loud. You got to get close to people to communicate.
Communication is going to be very key. Lots on the shoulders of the offensive line. Quarterbacks, they'll be dealing with it, and then we'll be returning the favor to the Saskatchewan Roughriders in the Banjo Bowl the following week. I mean, the big news yesterday was the return to practice of Dalton Schoen, who finished up his time on the 6-game IR. Here's what Osh had to say about getting his number 1 receiver back out on the field.
Good news, and Dalton Schoen's back. We all know about Dalton and the catches and the touchdowns and whatnot, the statistics, if you will. Talking to Brady and others, they say he's like another quarterback in the huddle for how much he knows and understands the system. That his presence alone can help out others. What impact do you get by having him come back into the
Yeah, he's all of that and more. He's obviously extremely smart. He sees the game well. He sees the game with Zach sort of the same way, or the same way, really. So they're always on the same page, and you know he knows where his attributes lie and where the defender's attributes lie and where that advantage may come, right? And he is able to exploit that. I don't know that anybody would say he's the fastest guy, but we said from day one he figured out that the waggle was important, and you know he capitalized on that, and everything he's learned about our game, he's somehow managed to turn it into an advantage for him.
There's just Mike O'Shea on Dalton Schoen. And Reem, you know, I'm just thinking about this. I mean, you know, Dalton Schoen was out, after game 2 of last season, injured earlier this year. It's been a while since we've seen him as a regular part of this offense. And, you know, all that time it seemed like, you know, over this past couple months where, maybe there's something missing. Well, there has been something missing. A guy that they count on to be their number 1 receiver. And I got to tell you, coming back into this game, I think that he is going to be one of the most important players in blue, or white as it were, on Sunday, in that Zach Collaros has his favorite target out, and we all know that they're going to need to put up some points if they're expecting to win in Regina on Labor Day.
Yeah, and what a first 2 years in the CFL that he had. I mean, rookie season, 70 catches, 1,441 yards, 16 touchdowns. He was the best receiver in the league. And 2023, you know, 1,200 yards, another 71 catches, 10 touchdowns. And he was injured last year, only played 3 games. He played a couple games this year before he got hurt, and they're a team that's hurting at receiver with Stearns. He's on the one game. Nick Dembski, we'll hear from Ed shortly, kind of unsure of his status for the week. He hasn't been put on any, given any injured list. He's been at practice, but Cobb been taking majority of the reps in his spot, but we'll have to see. So this is a great time to get a guy like Dalton Schoen back in your lineup, but with all these knee injuries that he's had now the last this year and last year, you wonder how he's going to look compared to the Dalton Schoen that we saw in his rookie season or his second season.
Yeah, well, fingers are crossed that he's fully rehabbed, recouped, and ready to roll. Here's just one more from O'Shea, just complimenting Schoen's ability to get so ingrained in CFL football early on and picking up the waggle so quickly.
Yeah, I think it's something about him. I mean, a lot of guys do it. I just wonder if, in general, in his life, he sees details as important or not, and the ones that are important, he probably focuses on tremendously. But he seems like a very detailed guy.
All right, and one more from the coach. This is just a bit of an update on plans for the newly signed Eccles and Moore.
They were standing, they were taking as much information as they could, and they got out and they ran a little bit. So we expect them as pros. They're going to learn the system, and I think because they've been in the CFL, we believe they're going to learn it fast. And then we'll see what they can do. But they're both pros, which is, you like that when you have to bring people in mid-season. You need to bring in pros, really.
Definitely pros, definitely experienced CFL guys. We'll see where they fit in potentially over the course of the next couple of weeks as the Bombers go back-to-back against the Riders. One other little bit of news, Remo, I guess Bombers adjacent, is Taylor Elgersma, who was released by the Packers. He went through waivers unclaimed, and it doesn't sound like he's going to get signed to the practice squad, which potentially could mean, hopefully for those of us here in Winnipeg, the former U Sports All-Star quarterback starting his professional journey here in Winnipeg in the near future.
Yeah, so there's been on Elgersma, watch the Bombers drafted him. He's also drafted by Green Bay, and yes, he got cut and cleared waivers, and he's not going to be on the practice roster, as you said. So curious if he catches on with another team. We saw Nathan Rourke bounce from practice squad to practice squad until he got sick of it. And signed with BC, mid last season, and signed, long-term, big money contract. And the other one we've had our eye on here is Ontario Wilson, cut by the Jets. He also cleared waivers, but receiver as a position has a lot of guys get injured. You wonder if a team has a lot of injuries, and he eventually catches on to a practice roster. I don't see. Him giving up.
Elgersma is such a project. I mean, a Canadian quarterback that's been playing Canadian three-down football. Just a quick correction. He wasn't drafted by the Packers. He was a UDFA free agent sign. Curtis Rourke, though, did get drafted by the Niners in the seventh round, and I think might have a better shot of sticking around at least on PR in Frisco. But yeah, and listen, Elgersma did look good in his NFL preseason action. He is a big quarterback as well. So knowing that Zach Caleros has a limited amount of tread left on the tire, I was so excited when the Bombers did pick Elgersma. Would have loved to have seen him here in the quarterback room all year. That hasn't been the case. But maybe we're getting to the point where he realizes that the next step for him is to try and get into a CFL locker room here in Winnipeg, move forward with the club. And it said, and this is from Farhan Lalji, doesn't look like Taylor Elgersma will get a spot on the Packers practice squad. Farhan says, I'm told he plans to be patient and evaluate any options before coming to the CFL. Totally understandable. I mean, if you've got an NFL opportunity, you're going to get paid that way. you go for it. But otherwise, this guy's a football player. And hopefully in the future, if he doesn't get another NFL opportunity, he will be playing football right here in Winnipeg with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in the future. We're expecting Ed Tait in just a minute. Of course, hockey season, folks, is just around the corner. We have Olympic orientation camps today. Training camps in the National Hockey League beginning in like 2.5 weeks, which means hockey is back. And for all of you that play, all of you that have kids that are playing, you can take care of everything you need on that list for the upcoming season with one simple trip over to Royal Sports, the ultimate hockey superstore in Winnipeg for over 50 years. Everything you need from skates, sticks, equipment, stick tape, unis, you got it. Royal has it all. And while you're there, you Bomber fans can get geared up for the Labor Day Classic and the Banjo Bowl with a great selection of Winnipeg Blue Bomber merch. And, of course, all the Jets gear you need heading into the new season. Royal Sports is ready to drop the puck on the hockey season. Pop by and see them, 750 Pembina Highway. And follow them on Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. They will have another massive tent sale coming up in September, so stay tuned for that. We got Blue Jays action tonight. And then on the weekend, the biggest weekend of the year in the Canadian Football League regular season. If you're looking to get together with your gang to watch the big game, head on down to Boston Pizza. Get in that lounge. The game will be on the big screens. The sound will be cranked. You can enjoy everything for the new summer menu, along with ice-cold schooners, world-famous BP wings, gourmet pizzas, and more. And as always, if you are staying at home, you can get it hot and fresh to your door by ordering online at bostonpizza.com. All right, we're going to have a quick check-in with Eddie Tait in just a minute. Before we do that, a big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, we are going to head down to Princess Auto Stadium and continue getting ready for Labor Day weekend in the Canadian Football League. Bombers and Riders. Eddie Tait from BlueBombers.com joins us from Princess Auto Stadium. Eddie, how's the vibe around the squad heading into the biggest rivalry we have in the CFL?
This is, I think one of the favorite weeks for everybody, or the back-to-back with this and the Banjo Bowl. And things kind of changed last week, too, with Winnipeg getting it done and then Calgary beating Saskatchewan. All of a sudden, it doesn't look nearly as daunting as maybe it did, a couple of weeks ago when Saskatchewan was rolling along. Now that they're 8-2 and maybe a little bit vulnerable, I think this team's, spirits are up. It wasn't perfect in Montreal. It was certainly sloppy against Ottawa, but they got it done. And if you can't get up for this one, Huss, then, it's time to sign your retirement papers, right?
Yeah,
including for me.
Yeah, much like from a fan's perspective, if you can't have fun in and around this weekend, you better check your pulse. That's what I'll be saying. Let's quickly focus on what's happening on the field. I mean, listen, the team has been through a lot of adversity. Decimated secondary a few weeks ago, and last week it was the receiving core. Stearns out, Dembski out. We even had Streveler running some routes. Although I was sort of intrigued. I'd love to see them pull 17 out for a few plays this week. But most importantly, tell us about Dalton Schoen's return, how's he's looking, and what's the latest on Nick Dembski?
Schoen was practicing a fair bit last week. Hussey took one day off late in the week. And then this week, it's been the last couple of days, he's been full go. So I think everybody's expecting that he'll be good to go again. And that's such an important thing. I mean, we can talk about this, but, the best thing to do is ask Zach Collaros about the importance of having Dalton Schoen out there. There's so many plays in this league that go off script, or a receiver's got to read something, on the fly. And when a quarterback has that kind of trust in a receiver like Zach does with Dalton Schoen, it's, you can't put a value on that. And I think getting him back is going to be massive. And Nick Dembski didn't practice yesterday, but he did for about half of today's practice, being cautious about him too. Gavin Cobb, the Canadian, has been taking a lot of reps in Dembski's spot the last couple of days. And then, they've added some other guys too, Cam Eccles and Kyron Moore, two veteran CFL guys are intriguing additions. I don't think they'll play this week, but man, all of a sudden a spot that looked pretty thin has some options. And I think that's all you want at this time of year. And, I think that that's how to be a little bit more upbeat when you've got more healthy bodies around as options.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, listen, I'll if at some point the guys that they signed this week come in, hopefully they'll be able to help and contribute. To me, getting shown back is just massive. I mean, first of all, for Zach Collaros, he's very clearly the target when he's in the game. But I was worried about it being one step forward and one step back, because it's great to add in Schoen. If you're losing Nick Dembski, I think he's been clearly start to finish the most important Bomber offensively this season, Ed. And he's a guy that's played in Regina. He's a Winnipeg guy playing for the Bombers. He comes up big on Labor Day and the Banjo Bowl. So the hopeful availability of Nick Dembski would be very, very nice to add to Dalton Schoen for this team to really take their offensive potency to another level than what we've seen.
Yeah, and you're right. I don't have a vote anymore, but if I did, Nick Dembski might be the guy that I'd scratch in on my ballot for most outstanding player on this team. He's been that good. And, with Zach missing time and Brady missing time too this year, Nick's been very consistent. So you're right. If you had those two guys back, that'd be massive. And I don't want to overlook the loss of Stearns too, because he's really been coming on. A guy that's pretty quick, quicker than I thought, tougher than I thought, and to his credit was having a real good year. I'm not sure how long he might be out. He's been watching at practice, but if you get all three of those guys on the field together, all of a sudden this receiving core looks a lot more dynamic than it did just a month ago or so. So it's something to keep an eye on. The other thing that's been happening in the last couple of days, Huss's Demario Houston's been getting a lot more work at corner. It's still been Dexter Lawson for a lot of practice, but Demario is in there in certain packages. So that's something to keep an eye on too. That's been a revolving door. They haven't settled on those two cornerback spots, and especially since Terrell Bonds has been out and gone for the year now, they need to get that locked down, especially against a quarterback like Trevor Harris, because his numbers are scary good this year.
Yeah, listen, it's going to be all hands on deck in the defensive secondary, and if Demario Houston can come in and help them, play at a higher level, that's why they brought him back in and gave him the opportunity to resume his CFL career. Interesting to note, Retta Cramdy hasn't practiced for 2 days in a row. And Ed, we focus so much on the offensive players and what they're doing, but Cramdy, one of, for my money, the most important players on the Bomber defense. They use him in so many different areas, and he's a guy that when they've had holes other way, they just simply tap him on the shoulder and say, go over there. Is there still hope that he might be in the lineup for the weekend?
Yeah, we've kind of seen this movie before this season with Cramdy Huss. He's a guy that, he plays he plays way above his weight class, so to speak. He's like a welterweight that punches like a heavyweight out there. He's often at the beginning of the practice week, he takes a couple days here and there just because he's so beat up, and he throws his body into the fray, regularly. But to your point, really valuable to that defense because of his versatility, like you said, but also when you take Adam Bighill and Brandon Alexander out of the middle of that defense because they've moved on from, you've got guys like Trey Vavel in one corner, Dexter Lawson at the other. These are newer guys to this defense. You need someone back there that knows what they're doing. And if you ask Coach O'Shea, he'll tell you that Retta Cramdy might be the smartest guy they have on defense. So, you make a good point. If he comes out of the lineup, that's a massive hole on a defense that's still kind of finding its way, even with its personnel. So my fingers are still crossed that he'll play on Sunday because we've seen him take a couple of days off here and there. He's still out there at practice, really engaged and still running things. And that guy.
Ed Tait of the BlueBombers.com joining us from Princess Auto Stadium as we look ahead to Labor Day weekend. I just had a chance to have Steven Brunt on the program, Ed. And Brunt is doing a docu-series with the Ticats this year, Made in the Hammer. It looks really good. And we got talking about Labor Day and these great rivalries in the Canadian Football League. And he was the first one to admit that Winnipeg-Regina is the rivalry now, and it partly is that it's a two-way street, unlike Toronto and Hamilton. It's sort of a one-way right now. But when did you first start covering the Bombers, and what was your first Labor Day memory, and how has this rivalry and this weekend sort of evolved since you've been covering the game?
My first Labor Day was 1990. And I missed a few when I was doing hockey, but I was trying to do the math on this earlier, Huss, and I'm mathematically challenged. I think this is my 30-something Labor Day game. Seen a lot of dominant Bomber teams get their ass kicked out there. There was that stretch, and you lived it, Huss, where this team,
man,
including, was it a 52-0 game?
Yeah, I'll never forget. We sat up, we stayed for the whole game, Ed. And at the 3-minute warning, we just started chanting, "All we want's a rouge." And never before we walked out, and the Ryder fan, they weren't even giving us the business. They felt sorry for us. That was the low point, 52-0. There's no doubt.
I think it's changed now, right? Because Winnipeg's won 3 of the last 4, and I think the one they lost was in overtime. To me, it's I love the Banjo Bowl, but in terms of a road game and environment, I always liked the Labor Day game. I've told this story before, but in the 90s when the league was in trouble and after the failed U.S. expansion years, the New York Times called the CFL office and said, "We want to write a story on the league, and it's fight to survive. What's the best game to go to kind of capture the best of the CFL?" And they said, "You got to go to Regina on Labor Day." So I've seen a lot of things that, it's not hatred. I hate when people say that it's hatred. It's fun. It's supposed to be fun. Totally. I love being there on the day of the game, the night before the game, and all those Winnipeg fans are there. And there's a hotel where all the Winnipeg flags are hanging on the balcony. And, Ray Yawk, who coached the Bombers in the late 70s and the 80s before he went to the Washington Federals of the USFL. He also coached in Regina. He told a great story that I've told before, but I'll mention it again. The Bombers at the time were taking a bus from the hotel to the game on game day. They had one of those transit buses with the bus at the door at the front and the door at the side about halfway down the coach. And the Bomber players are gathering. The bus is going to leave in 15 minutes and starting to fill up. And then they can see coming down the sidewalk, there's a Ryder marching band, the tuba and the trumpet and everything. And the players are on. This band goes on the front door, walks right down the Bomber bus, and then out the side door, and nobody even flinched. It was just sort of.
We've got plenty.
Probably a better.
Sorry, we just had you cut out there for a minute, Eddie. Yeah, that Ryder band, the Ryder band is the bane of many a Bomber fan's existence. But I would suggest no more than myself, because each and every year we would be at the Grey Cup. Gary and I would be doing the show, or myself and Rick or Remis, and inevitably we would be on the air and they would decide, oh, the Winnipeg guys are there. This is a perfect time to play Roll Out the Barrel or the Ryder Pride song right in front of us. And but hey, that is part about it. And the one thing, Ed, you say, yeah, it's so far from hatred. I mean, it's part of the thing that's so cool about the rivalry is that, I mean, let's face it, as much as we poke fun either way, I mean, these are two cities on the prairies. The similarities and the connections between the people of Manitoba and Saskatchewan are so intertwined. The fact we've all got Ryder fan friends that are here in Winnipeg. There's tons of Bomber fans that are in Saskatchewan. And the whole point of the weekend is really from Saturday when people get there and get going throughout Saturday into Monday. outside of the 3 hours of when the game is on, where the lines are drawn so vividly, it is all about coming together and having the biggest party outside of the Grey Cup of the year.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about what's happened recently, and I'm not sure if you've talked about this already, Huss, I lost you there for a sec, but the club has bought a billboard in Regina that says, Bomber fans don't let friends don't let friends wear green, and it's up in Regina. That's part of the rivalry too. Like, obviously that can bite you in the butt if you don't get it done, but it's fun. I keep saying the same thing. If you can a couple of nights, it's worth it. And the guys that are the fans that take it over the top, they can get out of here, because when you see people in blue and the green, and they're just, people want to have a good time and party together. You're right, Huss. We're the same. It's just an invisible border that separates us, basically. But it's pretty strict border, as a distinct border when it comes to your fandom, right? It's like, it's like Minnesota and Wisconsin. For me, like as a Vikings fan, the minute you cross into Wisconsin, you see all that awful Green Bay Packers green.
It's a great comparison too. Yep. I mean, they're Packer fans in Minnesota and they're Vike fans in Wisconsin, and they come together for the games. And you know what, I would say this. I think I've been to, I don't know, this is going to be maybe 13 Labor Day games or something like that this weekend. It has always been just absolutely, I mean, from the first time there, with the exception of what happened on the game, because we were usually getting whooped, the most fun weekend. I've never seen a fight or really anything of that remote, and that's a great thing. I mean, just having fans, everyone coming, having fun, and that's exactly what this league needs a little bit more of. Eddie, just before we go, listen, a lot of anticipation for this game. I know you and the team will be heading out there, as we get into the weekend. I guess you guys probably leave Saturday before the game. Fill people in on what you and the content team have cooking as we begin the home and home with the Riders.
Yeah, we got all our usual stuff. I was at a golf event yesterday, but they recorded another podcast, so that's coming, be posted soon if it's not already. We had to postpone the huddle for a week, but the Labor Day game, it's easy to write content for this or produce content for this, so we'll have our usual stuff, and then it bleeds right into next week with the Banjo Bowl, and Tyrone Jones is going up on the Ring of Honor, and some of his family will be up here since he's passed away, so that'll be fun. It's another sellout. The game after that sold out too, so we're on this run now that's unprecedented, and I'm hoping we can keep it through the end. It'd be so cool if the Bombers sold out every game this year, and that's what I'm told it's trending on the Banjo Bowl would sure change.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Eddie, okay, geez, I hope Ed comes back in, because we just did lose him again. But I do have one question that is not really Labor Day related, that I do need to ask him if I can. If not, we'll save it for a little later on. Okay, I think we've got Ed back. Ed, I don't know, the connection's not great today, but I had to ask you this one more question on the way out. It is not related to the Labor Day game. It's related to yesterday's big announcement. The love story continues. Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are getting married. Most people know that Zach Collaros is a very close friend of Travis. Has Zach commented on the announcement of his good friend's pending nuptials? And do we know whether he's in the wedding party?
See, Huss, this is why you need to come over here some days to ask those kind of questions. Everybody is out there asking him about the Ryder defense and getting Dalton Schoen back. We need you out here to ask those kind of questions. I am the worst guy for pop culture. I am the worst. I still think that Led Zeppelin's a cool new band, and the Rolling Stones are, that's my wheelhouse, man. So I don't keep up on Taylor Swift or any of this stuff. It's a great question. I wish I'd asked it. We'll probably have to wait till Saturday now, the day before the game, to ask Zach, but I will check in and I'll say the question comes from you.
Thank you. Please. This is, the people need to know, Ed. The people
I figured that.
Need to know.
I know. It's my bad on this, Huss, because I'm terrible on this kind of stuff, but I got to get on it. I appreciate it. You should have sent me a text. I would have done it.
Sorry. Hey, listen, we're all busy. There's so much going on. Hey, thanks so much. I know how busy you are. We appreciate you jumping on today. Hopefully we'll see you out in Regina, maybe for a cold one. It's not Labor Day weekend if you can't have a cheers with a few friends. Well, we got a couple buses going out there. We're all fired up. Cannot wait to get the blue on and represent the Peg and the Bombers at the Labor Day Classic. Have a great weekend, and good luck to the fellows on the weekend.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on. Sorry for the connection issues. It's probably on my end. It always is, right? Because I'm a Luddite on this stuff.
You're the best, buddy. Have a good one. Oh, there's Ed Tait. There's Ed Tait of BlueBombers.com. And, of course, BlueBombers.com is where you'll get all of the content that Ed and the team will be cranking out before the end of the season. Hey, listen, if you're not in Regina on the weekend, you're going to want to make a point of getting down to the ballpark for the final regular season series for the Winnipeg Goldeyes. 4 more home games throughout the Labor Day weekend for the Fish to finish up their year. And we've got some nice promos on the weekend as well. The 29th, which is Friday night, is the last fireworks game of the year. 7 p.m. start on Friday. 6 p.m. start on Saturday, which is the player card giveaway. I remember as a kid, always loved the games where they were giving out cards. So if you do have some kids that love Goldeye games, that's a great one to get to with the player card giveaway. But the game that you might really want to get to is Sunday. And listen, you can double dip. You can do Goldeyes at 1 o'clock and then get back in time to watch the Labor Day game at 5. It's Fan Appreciation Day, the team photo giveaway, and a team autograph session for that game on Sunday. So one more weekend of Goldeyes baseball. Make a point of getting out to the ballpark before we got to wait another, 9 months or whatever for the boys of summer to get back. Big golf news today. We're going to be talking about that with Geoff Fienberg coming up in a few minutes. But our Breezy Bend golf report is, of course, the Ryder Cup. And Keegan Bradley did not pick himself to play on the team. He will be the captain, will not play, which meant he added Sam Burns, Cam Young, Ben Griffin, along with Patrick Cantlay and Justin Thomas to the squad. USA and Europe going at it at the end of September at Bethpage Black. We're going to talk about that coming up with Geoff Fienberg in a couple minutes, amongst some other topics. But again, congratulations to everyone that was involved in the Manitoba Open at Breezy last weekend. If you're thinking about making Breezy one of the Manitoba's top private courses, your home course for you and your family in the future, give our pal Corey Johnson a holler at the clubhouse, or find out more online about membership for next season at breezybend.ca. It is ladies' night tonight at the track. We'll fill you in on details on that when Remis and I make our picks in a minute and get to the cool bet lines. But before we do that, we've got Ryder Cup to talk about. We've got the upcoming NFL season. And, of course, the Blue Jays, who kind of choked one up last night late. Fienberg was at the game, and Geoff Fienberg joins us now right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. What's going on, dude? How are you?
Oh, Haas, busy, but always a blast to come join you. It's that time of year again, though. You know, sweatshirts are starting to come on, and we're getting ready for football.
Yeah, listen, it's a couple of weeks of heavy fantasy football drafting, auctioning, and all that, getting our futures bets in, and then get ready for kickoff next week. But I got to tell you, I mean, listen, we haven't had a chance to talk about the Blue Jays in such a fun way in the past few years. I know you were at the ball game yesterday. I guess you said to me before we started, it was fun until it wasn't. But the team's still in a pretty good spot. Like, I mean, you're a fan. What's the vibe like right now around there? They certainly seem to be putting a lot of asses in seats.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The place is full. You know, I buy a bunch of games off my buddy, and, you know, before the year, and the ones I can't get to, it's almost like I can't give them away. Like, I tell my wife, like, we don't like those people enough to give them the Jays tickets right now for how much like they are going for if you can't make it. But the city is buzzing. But now you try not to overreact, right? You just try to think it's like the ebbs and flows of 162. And, you know, they had their super hot streak to put them where they are. and now they got to hold the line for a bit, right? And maybe get hot again or peak again at the right moments. But the bullpen, it's a bit of a concern. It's a bit of a concern at the moment. Even if they were to, swap out Hoffman, who might get that first chance? Sir Anthony Dominguez, maybe, but he's got control issues that would scare the crap out of me. And in the bottom of the ninth inning. But it's all blessed. Like, the summer has flown by and football's sneaking up on us. And I told my wife last night, that's just because the Jays. Like, every night I just got the Jays. Like, I don't even crave football when the Jays are playing so great.
We were talking Jays with Josh Goldberg yesterday, and I was kind of, getting along this line of just how long it's felt like we were in the middle of a pennant race. And you kind of have to go back to that sweep of the Yankees right around Canada Day that sort of announced that the Jays had arrived, and then that run that they've been on. Like, I think a lot of people outside of the market, coast to coast, have been watching these games night in and night out the way we'd normally do in a pennant race at this time of the year, but it's really been happening for a couple months, and it has been neat to see just the swell of support for the team at home and on the road as the excitement continues for the playoffs. Big series coming up this weekend. Milwaukee, a hell of a great story in their own right in the NL. These three games are going to be, if you're a baseball fan, this is the series on the docket this weekend.
Yeah, and their run of series right now, in no particular order, right? It's Milwaukee, I want to say the Yankees, maybe the Astros in there. So a lot of playoff teams are going to be playing in the next couple weeks, and hope the division lead can hold the line, Huss. But when we were talking early in the year, like when this was a 12-12 ball club, we could tell right away, we said to each other, we're not sure how good this team is going to be, but boy, are they a likable group. Like, they are a really likable bunch to sit back and watch, and they're going to fight. They're great one-run games. They've come back a lot. Truly, it's been an enjoyable watch. Hopefully, they can finish strong and they can maintain that situation where they don't have to play that first-round playoff.
Yeah, I'm with you on the likable group. They really are. The only way they could maybe be more likable, maybe we could bring back Kawasaki before for the run. Just have him there cracking everybody up.
And Bieber first home start this weekend. Boy, oh boy, did I hope the tickets that I had would have landed on Bieber's first home start. But that should be an absolute, a blast at the park on Friday night for sure.
Yeah, Shane Bieber, of course, with his first J start last Friday, absolutely dynamite. 9 strikeouts, only 2 hits, and seems like they've got an ace ready to go for the playoffs. Let's get to the Ryder Cup. Well, listen, before we even get to the Ryder Cup, cannot begin a golf conversation without talking about Tommy Ladd finally getting his win. Now, where are you at on this? Some people will say, well, it's a 30-person event. I will counter that it's actually a 12-round event that you need to survive in advance and finally win. Bottom line is, the monkey's off his back. He gets a fat check. And even in an atmosphere where people are already fired up for Ryder Cup and you hear the USAs, was there anybody that wasn't happy for Tommy Fleetwood, except for maybe Patrick Cantlay?
Yeah. Truly, it's actually really nice to see how much America has grown to embrace Tommy Fleetwood. Right? That's a lovely side note that we've sort of seen develop through the summer, Huss. It's great to see it. You know me, I'd have been happy if he clipped the John Deere or something. So this was great. There's finally that monkey. Maybe next summer there can be a nice little Francesco Molinari run in him and we'll win something bigger and more special. But you could tell me I'm wrong. I almost believe all this really did was it gets our name by our name, his name off the graphic that CBS or NBC wants to put up, the Chiron, the TV graphic that says most top fives without a win, most T2s without a win. He's off that. The second he if he relents his first chance at a win next year, the knives are going to be right out. Look, Rory wins a Grand Slam and people want to bring their knives out. So if he can, he has to double barrel this. The next time he's got that 2-shot Sunday lead, if he can close the deal, then I think this thing can be done. But I don't think there's a lot of I don't think he has shed the full label yet. And maybe I'm just being negative about it. There's still a label that he's going to have to continue to grind on.
Hey, he's got the one, and yes, the Chiron will be gone, but listen, I wouldn't be surprised if this doesn't propel him to more wins in the future. He's always seemingly in the mix, and it was about time he finally got the big check and the trophy. Hey, just speaking of the Tour Championship, they've changed the rules every year. There was a staggered start with added strokes based on performance and merit throughout the year. This year, once you finally got to the final round, the final 30 was just a open tournament. Are they changing again for next year? I mean, what's the future of this format, or is that just something that's tabled every summer once it's done and make more tweaks to it?
I mean, listen, Huss, there's more talk of discussions. There's a new man in charge at the PGA Tour, and he seems committed. It's a two-pronged, attack, though, Huss, because there's, this unwritten, there's this thing that no one, truly involved in golf, be it the broadcast partners or the players or the tour, are allowed to say, but we as fans know, and that's, only 6-8 events matter. Right. So, but all year we're being told about this thing that's at the end of the summer. That's supposed to be important, but we know it doesn't matter. And I would just say I'm not smart enough to fix it, but it would take courage and the desire or the allowance for things to get messy. When when the Indiana Pacers played the Oklahoma City Thunder, that means things got messy. And that wasn't the NBA's first choice, but things get messy. No offense to our great friends, if the Winnipeg Jets go on a run, there's probably people in league office that are well, that's not ideal, but it's sports. And as fans, we accept that things can get messy. But it seems like the broadcast partners and there's just too many power brokers that don't have the courage for things to get messy and for fans to really know that this thing is different and matters. I could argue, and it's been said, a multi-week match play event that goes through different cities on different weekends, that for some of the top players needs them to be double eliminated, I think is some of the best ideas that I have heard. Also, maybe pay out the FedEx Cup at the end of the regular season. Half of it should go to the regular season winners. The guy who wins the regular season should get a huge payout from the FedEx Cup standings, and then create some fun little 3-week event. But you can't pee on us and tell us it's raining by how important it is. The second the Open Championship ends, all we want is Ryder Cup. No one's talking about who do you think is going to win the Tour Championship? Or you got any great bets for the Tour Championship? No. But when one major ends, we get those questions a lot in the month leading into the next major. So and there's also acknowledgement maybe they don't have to do much. It's just golf. But stop pretending it's important too. Or I shouldn't say important. Stop insulting our intelligence about it a bit as well.
I'd be fully in on some sort of a match play format. I think that would be phenomenal. I mean, I know it's challenging for TV once you get down to the final. But you said before,
keep the top 10 in there playing matches. I've had other suggestions that they can turn it into a whole other thing with maybe celebrity matches or ladies match, top LPGA matches or amateur matches. It could be this day of celebrating golf, because Hustler at golf clubs, country clubs across the world, amateur events, match play decides the champion. It is match play is used to decide the champion of almost every club championship. So that's how it is decided for golf fans across the world. And we got our 4 majors and the players. Let's do this different thing.
Well, we're finally getting match play coming up at the end of next month. Bethpage Black, the Ryder Cup, and had to have you on today to talk about Team USA. All season long, we've been talking about Keegan Bradley, who was surprisingly named the captain after sort of, I think, an egregious omission a couple years ago. And the biggest storyline was, would Keegan, who by merit probably deserves to be on the team, would he pick himself as a captain's pick? And we found out today, Geoff, he will not be playing in the Ryder Cup. He's focusing on the captain. Are you surprised?
Yes and no. I had screamed all year that doing both jobs would be an impossible task. Both jobs would suffer. I acknowledge I'm one of those who thinks the captain is way more important than others. But I think Keegan sort of agreed with me. And it was almost the most selfless decision that could galvanize the team. I honestly think it's a true stroke of genius for step 1 of the captaincy, Huss. He has put the team before himself. As someone who had future bets on Team Europe, they did exactly what I didn't want them to do. I'll be perfectly honest when I saw those 6 names roll out. And Keegan, I mean, just like how I'm having trouble using words, but with what happened on the weekend at Eastlake, he had every card in the book, Huss, to put himself on the team and to put himself first and his wants and desires first. And why we all wanted it so badly for him is because of the situation. If he's not the captain, he's on the team. Because of the carryover scar tissue of 13, he's on the team. And now he's not on the team when having earned it again. And let's be honest, I think part of the reason we all wanted him to play as golf fans because we know what it means to him. And let's be realistic. There's like, what are the chances he's going to be good enough in 2 years? So we're all like, Keegan, this could be your last chance. What do you like? You don't want to take it. So, you wish at some point, maybe early in the process when Keegan started looking good, someone like Tiger Woods would have said, I'll do it. Let's do something right for Keegan. But Tiger turned it down the first place, and that's sort of where this cluster expletive began. And it was unfair to Keegan, and it is unfair to Keegan, but it is tremendous to see that he has put the team ahead of himself. And boy, oh boy, I think this is incredible for like the psyche of Team USA.
So we don't have the full Europe team yet. We'll get that on the 1st of September. But the 6 qualifiers that were automatically on the team were obviously Scotty Scheffler, JJ Spawn, what a year he had, Xander Schauffele, Russell Henley, Harris English, and Bryson DeChambeau. So I'll just get your thoughts on no Keegan Bradley. We just talked about that. Here are the 6 guys that will be joining the team. Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa. That was an iffy one to me. Ben Griffin, Cam Young. I know you've been talking a lot about Cam Young lately. Patrick Cantlay. People will not be pumped up with that one, especially after his show at the Tour Championship. He's still waiting to address the ball. And Sam Burns. What stands out to you about the 6 captain picks, knowing that Keegan was not one of them?
I'd be, as someone who'd bet on, when you bet on football and like it's for like, and you want the other team to do like you don't want them to do something. You rather them kick the field goal than go for this.
Yes.
Like you have that psyche in your head. As someone that bet on Europe, I did not want Sam Burns on the team. I wanted Keegan Bradley on the team. I wanted him doing 2 jobs. And they took Sam Burns because that is not only is he good friends with Scotty Scheffler, and that'll be probably made into a thing, but he is an elite driver and elite putter. And how do you win or neutralize a match? Right? Like just with that flat stick. And the Ben Griffin thing was interesting too, because he had become a bit of a lightning rod. And to me, Huss, Ben Griffin being left off the team would have been an exponentially bigger snub than Keegan having been left off the team in 23. Ben Griffin, to me, had done way more this year than Keegan had done that year. So there was no way it felt like he could go. I think Keegan made the right choice. We want him to play. We wanted him to play for himself for how badly he wanted it. But I think we could all agree the drop-off is negligible. Like, let's say you do think Keegan is one of the 12 best golfers in America, and I would agree that he is. The drop-off to Sam Burns, it's negligible. And Keegan was like, the drop-off is small. I could do more harm than good. What sort of situation, like imagine playing and having to think about who you're sending out and other things. Playing, having to like wonder what's going on in other matches. Right? We have seen it. You've been to these things, Hustler. That captain is omnipresent. That golf cart, it's like he's Jesus floating from person to person on that golf cart to come and just be with you. Whether you're playing next and you're on the range, like everyone, the captain is there for everyone, and every job would have suffered. So I think Keegan crushed it. I think he nailed it today, Hustler. And I'd had one big bet to start, and I'd made 2 re-ups. And you know what I'd done? I hit a full cash out on one of the re-ups. So I'm not out, But I just thought if he played, they would get killed. I mean that. So by that thought, I have to think he absolutely did what I think is in their best interest of winning. And he accepted the job as captain, and he lived up to it to the letter of the T.
Hey, was there any doubt that Cantlay, Morikawa would be on the team? I mean, these are guys that have been there before but have not been particularly good, especially Morikawa. He was the one guy that I didn't know whether he had enough favor with the rest of those guys, and certainly didn't have the year that would have put him on the team. What did you think about his addition?
That was a little touch and go, but even through it, the ball striking remains. Like, even when he's not playing great, the approach stats are still like highest level tier, not named Scotty Scheffler. Could they have killed him on form? Of course. But they obviously didn't want to replace him for a rookie, and Keegan didn't think it was worth replacing him for himself. As for Patrick Cantlay, Huss, you're a follower of mine. You know where I've been on this for like weeks, for months. I can't believe that people thought Patrick Cantlay wouldn't be on this team. I even made like bets with audiences. My DMs are filled with people asking me for, where to send it. I mean this in the most respectful way. It was like a litmus test. Anyone who thought Cantlay wouldn't be on this team simply doesn't know ball. Did you watch the announcements?
No, I didn't see them. I am just
okay. So
after.
Keegan Bradley, he read off his historical match play record from like amateur through President's Cup, Ryder Cup. This guy is like the horse. He is just an animal at this thing. He might be struggling winning golf tournaments, but he is the closest thing that USA has to an Ian Poulter.
Is there any way, even in the Ryder Cup scenario, that USA fans get so frustrated with watching him approach the ball, take forever, and just be generally Patrick Cantlay that they would turn on Team USA?
I almost doubt it. I don't know. If you're actually live at a
Ryder Cup,
you actually witness so little golf in front of your eyes. I think you're just happy to see a ball.
No, it is. It's true. Do you expect any surprises, or are we going to see Europe run it back?
Yeah, just the Højgaard swap. I think they'd run it back. Luke Donald created the system. He created the system himself that they implemented, and in some ways you could argue it nipped them in the butt a little. But I think they're fine. I think they're going to run it back, but this feels like, I don't know, the momentum right now for USA, I hope I don't offend anyone with this. It just sort of feels like, I hope it's just like Kamala after the convention. There's just a lot of like buzz in the air.
Yeah.
But it's just, okay, this was their moment, the team. I'm really nervous right now, but I can't wait. It is the greatest event in golf, Hustler. I like it as much. I like it more than the Masters, which is, I know, super controversial, but nowhere do you see these guys, care so much. It's just the format does it for me so much. I love it. I'm obsessed.
I went, what is it, Hazeltine, and just, it was, do you experience that? It changes it from a sports fan perspective. It's one of the coolest things that I've ever been to. And then, getting to another one in the President's Cup last year. Top of my list is not to go to US Open or it's just try to get to more of these team events because they are that damn good. And what an environment we'll have at Bethpage coming up in a month when the Ryder Cup gets going. Hey, listen, before we go, obviously we're drafting, we're getting ready for the start of the season. Let me ask you a Chargers question that many fantasy footballers will be interested in.
Yeah.
This team better than anyone. Where are you at on O'Marion Hampton? Is this guy going to be a stud for people that draft him early in drafts this year? Will he be the bell cow running back for the Chargers?
Yeah, I think you draft based on potential opportunity, and it's certainly going to exist there. And when I tell you, this guy appears to be a standout pass blocker, what that means is there's the chance to be a 3-down back in a Greg Roman, Jim Harbaugh type of offense. We yet to know where the touchdowns are going to come from, Huss, but it's not like the Chargers have a big-bodied red zone target, right? That is a touchdown snarfer for them. I expect Hampton to have the opportunity to dominate and to get a full load. And I know that there's been some positive reports on Najee Harris and his health, but Jim Harbaugh just drafted a first-round running back. Like, he's not going to knit.
Is Najee still out because of this fireworks mishap on July 4th?
Yeah. He just started practicing again a few days ago.
Can he see?
So I'm not going to lie. There have been like conflicting reports about like the seriousness of it. Some of it being hyper severe and some of it being not nearly as much. I assume he can see. I don't know how you could pass an NFL physical, how you could be a running back if you didn't have like your at least some level of vision. I don't know that he's going to be playing next week, Hustler, 9 days when the Chiefs and Chargers meet in Brazil. But for that, I just said, let's just hope no one hurts themselves on that field.
Yeah, a bit of breaking news today. The Chiefs and Rashee Rice has accepted a 6-game suspension from the NFL. It was originally thought that he'd be available for those first 4 games and then would serve a suspension based on what came out on the 30th. But that is no longer the case. So there'll be no Rice for the opener against the Chargers in Brazil and the other 5 games of this regular season before they get to week 7. Hey, just on a fantasy note, outside of the Chargers, any players that you're particularly horny for, you're kind of reaching for, making sure you get on teams these days?
I'm big into Evan Ingram if I'm like ignoring the top end of the tight ends.
And the fact that he's
just
on Denver.
started remembering what Sean Payton will do with the tight end and a quarterback that he just can create. And it shows up from what they draw on the whiteboard to what shows up on the field. I trust Sean Payton as much as anyone. And I hate saying this, Huss. Let's just change the subject from fantasy. Like, you're on the internet. You're perennial online like me. These Denver Broncos, the whole world is putting us on notice that they're about to take over something.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, listen, Bo Nix had a really nice rookie season. For them to take that next step, they're taking the training wheels off him, and we're going to see how he handles.
With the defense and the O-line, they might not even have to take the training wheels off.
Okay, exactly. I mean, listen, they have a legit top 5, top 3 defense in the league, and that is going to win you football games right off the bat. Very interested to see how that backfield works. They got that rookie R.J. Harvey and I guess J.K. Dobbins, who you, of course, saw with the Chargers last year. And they do have some weapons.
Yeah, good coaches. Like Vance Joseph's still there coaching. Like none of those coaches left for other jobs. I'm getting nervous about them. The Chargers play the whole division the first 3 weeks of the season, Huss. So you'll know a lot about them right away.
Really, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders right out of the gate.
Yeah, week 2 is on primetime versus the Raiders. So they open with back-to-back primetimes, and then Denver week 3. So, I'll know what I'm in for quickly. I promise you.
Well, listen, I mean, we'll obviously be watching that opener next Friday from Brazil, and then I'm actually going to be at the home opener, week 2, Chiefs Eagles, ultimate revenge game. We'll see whether they can get that done. Would have loved to have seen Rashi in for that one, but we'll get a few weeks of football in, and then we'll be locking in for that Ryder Cup at the end of the month over at down at Bethpage Black. Hey, Fienberg, before we go, I know you, Pat, Tim, and the gang just getting ready for football season with the usual Monday shows. Fill people in on what is their preseason as everyone gets ready to make picks, make bets, and then sit back for NFL kickoff next week.
Yeah, it's all over there. Mayo Media Network, our win total show. Mayo and the boys doing lots of fantasy stuff. They're churning out the fantasy content as well. Our win total draft coming, and our weekly spread pick shows as well, Huss. So I can't wait. I love it all.
Still feeling Atlanta in the NFC South?
I do. I'm with you on that. Do. I even took a little James Pierce 18-1 defensive rookie of the year.
Nice. We're going to dive into some of these, the awards and everything else. We'll be doing that on WST Winners on Friday morning here. Pat and Jake will join me. We'll get into that. Dude, have a great rest of the day. I know you're going to be hitting the X with the kiddos. Have a great day with the fam, and we'll look forward to catching up in the upcoming weeks, talking Chiefs, Chargers, Ryder Cup, and everything else fun that we do when you join us. Always love having you on the program, dude. Thanks for popping on today.
Anytime, guys. All the best.
All right, good times with my guy Fienberg. Looking forward to chopping up some NFL with him throughout the year. And, of course, Ryder Cup. So excited for Ryder Cup at the end of September. It is going to be great. All right, let's get Remo back in here. We do have a little business to take care of before the end of the show. We'll get to the cool bet lines in just a minute. You know, I'm just going to pull up this post from our friends at Assiniboia Downs. Because it is ladies' night tonight. We're about to get our picks in for tonight. But it's ladies' night. Girls' night has been extended. Every Wednesday, they're doing $5 cocktails and bites, cash draws all nights. You can win a $300 Thermia gift card, and of course, post-race crazy hour. Where drinks are special.
I love when I watch the last race because we always bet the last race, and then Kurt announces crazy hour, and people in the chat who are, I don't know, it's a lot of like global viewers in the chat. They're like, "Whoa, crazy hour! That sounds pretty cool."
I partook in crazy hour on Monday night, and actually I was with a bunch of ladies who. Said we're going to need to do this on Wednesday. Also, people love dressing up and wearing the hats to the track. Girls, you can wear your fanciest hat for a chance to win $500, $150 as well. So again, that is tonight and Wednesdays throughout the racing season. From first race to last call, it's girls' night down at the Downs. Listen, we'll get to our picks in just a minute for tonight's races, but let's get over to Cool Bet right now. And hey, right off the bat, I'll hit this just because I have it up. They just dropped U Sports futures, Vanier Cup futures for the upcoming U Sports season. No surprise, the Laval Rouge et Or are the favorites to win the Vanier Cup, perennial powerhouse, plus 195. The Laurier Golden Hawks are plus 215. Montreal is 6-1. Western is plus 750. Queens 15-1. First Can West team is Sask. They're 17-1. And then our Manitoba Bisons at plus 1850. I think they opened up at 17. That's gone back a little bit. Jackson Tuchinski, final year as a starter. Stan Pierre, first year as a head coach. We'll definitely talk some Bison football throughout the year, but if you do want to jump on the Bisons over at CoolBet, you can jump on that right now. Blue Jays today taking on the Twins. Had a very nice day yesterday with a few of those props we put out. The Bo Bichette over 1.5 bases cashed. The Vlad RBI cashed. And I added a Springer dinger as well, and George Springer went yard. So, listen, that was a tough loss yesterday. I think the Jays win, and I think they win big tonight. I'm taking the Jays on the run line, minus 1.5 at plus 108. Pitching matchup tonight is Eric Lauer versus Simeon Woods. I think I might go back to the well with Bo Bichette, total bases over 1.5. And who knows, maybe we'll just repeat yesterday. Vladdy RBI. What's the Vlad RBI number? Plus 129. It was plus 130, I believe, yesterday. So basically the same number. And if you're looking for a bomb, Jimenez actually has been a lot hotter at the plate lately. He's 10-1. Addison Barger plus 442. Bo Bichette plus 528. Varsho, who's just been launching him lately, he's plus 342. Davis Schneider plus 395. And George Springer, wow, he's hot, all the way down to plus 261. He was over 3-1 yesterday. Vladdy plus 314 if you're looking for a bomb in the Jays game tonight. Moving over to the CFL, a little bit of line movement in one of the games, not in the Bomber-Rider game right now. Bombers are still 5.5-point underdogs in the game, although the money line has moved from plus 200 to plus 195. Same money line with the Argos and Ticats. Argos plus 195, Hammer minus 244. But the Argos are just 5-point underdogs as opposed to the 5.5 that's hung on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Total, by the way, in the Bomber game is 51.5. Total in the Argo Ticat game is 57. I don't know how high it would need to go to get you to think to pick the under in that one. That should be a lot of fun. And then the finale Monday afternoon, the Elks are now 7.5-point underdogs in Calgary against the Calgary Stampeders. NFL futures are up. We will dive into all of our favorite upcoming bets for the season Friday morning, 10 a.m., WST winners right here on the Winnipeg Sports Talk YouTube channel. Myself, Pat and Jake from CoolBet. Connor will be producing, and then all year long, Friday mornings, 10 a.m., right here, we fire it up with our favorite picks against the spread. Cannot wait to get going with the boys again for NFL football season. Lots of tennis going on right now over at CoolBet. All the U.S. Open, men's and women's singles odds. Big slate of Major League Baseball games tonight, so get on over to CoolBet. If you haven't played there before, use the promo code WST when you're making your first deposit for a 100% bonus up to $200 on that first deposit. And stay tuned. You'll be able to jump in on our CoolBet WST poker nights, which we've had so much fun doing over the past year. We'll get those going again in September, and much, much more with our friends at CoolBet moving forward. All right, Remo, let's get to it. You actually had a pretty nice night at the track, rumor has it, from last night.
Yeah, I hit my first two picks. One, race 5, I had, race 2, I had horse 5, $4 bet, won $27.20. And then race 3, horse 5, $4 bet, paid $14.40. So I doubled my money yesterday, and I'm closing the gap on you as live racing continues through September and into October. So still a lot of time, but I'm down like $50 on you now?
Yeah, like at the start of the year, I hit a $290 winner in like the third or fourth day. So I had basically a $300 lead on Remis, and he has just chipped away at me. He had a couple nice wins. I haven't had those, and now I've got about a $50 lead. So let's see what happens. I'm trying to get back in the win column tonight. I've got bets on 4 races, 2 winners, 2 triacta boxes. I got race 2, 3, 5, and 6 tonight, Remis. What about you?
Sorry, I'm monitoring the chat here because it's like teetering, going off the rails here. So anyways, I'm on race 3, 6, 4, and 7. So 3, 4, 6, 7.
All right, well, let's start off with race number 2. Picking a couple of longer shots for a win. I'm going $4 on number 6, Ropers and Wranglers, with my man, Antonio Whitehall, on the ride.
Wow, okay.
Ropers and Wranglers, one of the longer shots on the board. That's where I'm starting off with race number 2.
Okay, race number 3. I'm going to win horse 5, Rhodesia.
Rhodesia. All right, I'm on race 3 as well. I'm going number 6, Designated Hitter.
Nice.
12-1 in the book right now. Number 6, $4 to win, Designated Hitter. Number 6 in race 3.
Okay, I'm on race 4. I have a 1-4 exacta. Pinky ring bling right here. You know the pinky ring bling?
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about. And burn.
Shout out MJF.
And burn Jakey burn exacta.
All right, this is race number 5, and I've got a 5-7-9 triactor box. Silver Jaguar, along with the favorite Lemon Twist, and number 9, Conspiracy Theorist. $1 times 6, so it's a $6 bet for the 5-7-9 triactor box in race number 5.
Okay. Oh, race 5. Okay. I'm on race 6 here. My tractor box 145. Bring on the bubbly, Bound for Heaven, and Cumberland Falls. That's the chalk box. That's the program selection. That's the AI picks. But I'm riding with it here.
I'm bouncing number 1 out of your triactor box and adding number 8, Midnight Candy Storm. So I'm going 4, 5, 7. For my final pick, $6, $1 tractor box, 4, 5, 7 in race number 6.
And okay, interesting. And I'm on race 7, 134 Tractor Bucks. So baby likes to rock My Little Tootsie, and maybe so.
All right, so there you have our picks. Again, you can use hpibet.com if you'd like to bet online on the races. And, of course, full coverage of all the action at Assiniboia Downs right through race 7 into crazy hour every night at asdowns.com and Assiniboia Downs YouTube channel as well. Fun show today. Really enjoyed that conversation with Stephen Brunt, Remo. You know, Fienberg's one of my favorites, and fun to have Ed Tait on the program as well.
Yeah, Steven Brunt, what an the opportunity came up, and I was like, well, he's talking a lot about Hamilton, but I think it speaks to, there's a lot of similarities between, Bomber fans and Ticats fans, especially now Ticats taken over as the longest drought, and we had such a great time in Hamilton at the Grey Cup. They do have a lot of passionate fans, and Labor Day weekend, it's a big weekend of rivalry in CFL, and a lot of people talking, like, why are there only 3 games? Like, why not have Montreal and Ottawa play each other? It seems...
I would love to see that, and I'd love to see it get a team in Quebec City and make it a damn 10-team league with 5 in the East and 5 in the West and move forward on that. So lots of move. But, hey, the focus is all on the field this weekend and off the field with the fun surrounding the Labor Day games. Of course, the 1930 crew, we're heading out early on Saturday morning. We'll get to Regina in the afternoon. Should be a very fun Saturday and hopefully an absolutely amazing Sunday. And a happy ride back for Blue Bomber fans. We'll be all over it tomorrow. By the way, lots of fantasy football drafting right now. We'll lean on our guy from fantasypoints.com, Thomas Tipple. Tomorrow, he'll be on the program. We're also going to get set up for the Labor Day game with Jeff Hamilton before he heads out to Regina. Don't forget the latest CFL 110 is up right now on the YouTube channel. Go and check that out. Should be checking in with Jamie Nye as well in Regina tomorrow. And then we'll have DT get us ready for the game from his perspective. Voice of the Bombers, Derek Taylor on Friday, along with Ken Weave. And, of course, we'll do a little NFL notebook with Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. That's going to do it for us. Thanks again to all of our guests, Stephen Brunt, Ed Tait, Geoff Fienberg today. All of you keeping it somewhat straight in the chat. Shout out to everyone listening on the podcast. And again, thanks to the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. We will be back tomorrow, 1 p.m., with a live edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk. And then a busy Friday, 10 a.m., we'll crank out the first WST winners on all of our NFL Futures extravaganza. And then a big final show of the week heading into the Labor Day trip out to Regina. That's going to do it for us. For Michael Remis, I'm Andrew Paterson. Have a great night. Enjoy the beautiful weather outside, and we'll see you tomorrow right here on WST.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.